All right, so the impetus for today's topic is that the American Humanist Association introduced recently, back in August, a thing that they call the 10 Commitments. How many people are familiar with seeing the 10 Commitments? Okay. And basically what it was is it's, and somebody stole the smart board because I was going to borrow it, but somebody else reserved it because I was going to throw it up and show what it is. But it kind of looks like this. If you want to look at that, I didn't bring the big picture. I left it at home. But basically, it's got 10. The 10 Commitments is the values, secular humanist values that we should be promoting in our daily activities. I don't have any real concerns about the values. When I was in my Columbus group 20 years ago, we had a set of values that were attached to our bylaws that are similar to these. And I do think it's a good idea for people that, not only humanists, but people outside of humanism see that and they can see what our different values are and how we interpret those. My concern is that it's called the 10 Commitments. The humanist movement has this tendency to what I call rehash religious terms as secular. And personally, I think that causes confusion. I think it muddies the water. But I know not everybody thinks that way, so I kind of want to have maybe a group discussion talking about that. We don't have to limit the discussion to that in particular. The other things that have come up that I think kind of confuse people is there's an event called the Sunday Assembly. I think Barb in Kansas, she takes part in a Sunday Assembly. They meet on Sunday, they have a service, they have a sermon. I'm not a Unitarian. Unitarians are great. If you want the church thing, go join a Unitarian church. They're great for people like me that are secular. I don't want to meet on Sunday. I don't want to sing hymns. I get angsty when I'm passing the hat because how that is intertwined with religion. I know when I used to be religious, when I was a kid, the only thing that I liked about it was the fellowship part, mainly the food, the potluck afterwards, or the coffee time, or things like that. And so, but that's the main thing, is that's what I believe now. Not everybody needs to believe that. That's the issue that I have. So, if anybody wants to make a comment or.
I think it's what the Catholic Church does, and the I don't know what the other big Christian churches, but it's like they take things and they try to make it their own to easily convert others, and that's what it feels like to me, that we could have came up with something other than the 10 Commitments. We could come up with values, we could have come up with just something, but it seems like they're trying to still convert people, and that's I don't like that impression.
Well, they stole all their holidays from
Right.
Right.
Christmas was a secular holiday to begin with.
Yes, it was.
But I think that it's for people who are comfortable with the organization of how religion works. I think that this is something, it's so that they feel like they're comparing apples to apples. And it's familiar, I think. And I think that's why they do it. I think that there should probably be more of a push. The more I work with People First Dialogue, the more I realize that in general, our language has become very lax in creativity, and we keep borrowing ideas from all kinds of things, Like, you can't even, nobody researches anything anymore. Everybody Googles stuff. Nobody does research. You Google stuff. And so much so that Google has been added to the dictionary. And I'm not saying that I'm not some kind of a purist. I love technology. I think it's awesome. And I try to embrace as much as I can with my smartwatch and my smartphone and my smart computer and smart TV. But I think that we could come up with more original ideas or just simplified. You
I
know,
agree. A lot of stuff is kind of why they have it here. I mean,
you have to do some marketing.
7 most.
And you have to, there's always going to be marketing involved when it comes to making things publicized. Because if you don't have graphics, as you know, Bev, if you don't have graphics that catch people's eye, and you don't have some kind of a format that is simply laid out, people are going to look at the simple and they're going to look at the complicated and they're going to be like, screw this, I don't want to do that. That's all tiny print, it's not mobile friendly. This, I have 10 graphics. I can see a brain, yep, that tells me something about logic or learning. I see justice scales, that tells me something about things being equal. I see a peace symbol, that means we're probably talking about some compassion. I see a prize symbol, that means probably something, you know, people are doing, you know, things that make themselves feel rewarded. The green leaf, the star, I see these symbols, and those symbols attract me. Oh, I love things that are peaceful. Let me read about this, you know, and then I like justice. And so I think that that's kind of, yeah, I think using that term 10 commitments, I think they could have come up with something more original that is simplified and catchy.
Along that line, I would suggest, instead of commitment, use the word suggestion. It's far different than the word commandment. We can see how well the commandments work. The world is a wonderful place because of that Ten Commandments. With all of the wrongdoing going on. So let's look at it as a suggestion towards a more humanist society. Each one of those have a wonderful inherent goodness to them. Speaking of the other point about, was it Sunday
Assembly.
Yeah, I've recently come across the lady by the name of Greta Vosper, V-O-S-P-E-R. She is an ordained minister who is now proclaiming herself as an atheist. And she brings so many of the values that I feel we have in humanism to the pulpit. So it can be delivered from a pulpit. It can command attention and change the way we behave. I like what she says. She came to Toledo a little while ago and she actually addressed the Quaker group by invitation. So there's a little cross-treading that we got here. I do like it. I agree, the commitments are rather bold.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was trying to barnstorm something, and I was thinking maybe something like essential values, or
And why 10? Let's do 5.
yeah.
I'll take a different approach.
Yeah.
And one is, I think it's something that will draw people in, and I think that's important to see that. And versus a commandment from a God or somebody above, these are things we're committing to. And I think that's coming from within us. And I think we need things to commit to. And you're saying, hey, and when I see those things and I look through them, I'm going to say, hey, I need to keep reviewing these, and these all are very important things in our society, and I'm going to make a commitment to it. So for me, I had a little different. I like the idea of the 10 from the standpoint of it's not a commitment, it's something we're committing ourselves to, and it's also 10 intentable things. And also if people, you say, well, look at the 10 commandments, and then compare to this, you'll say, hey, there's a lot more stuff in there that we really think we should allow. And I think I talked about this last time. I was very fortunate in the community I grew up and even went to school and to college in. They were very open for free thinking. But a lot of it is that, which is so important, that sense of community. And that's things I think can be hard for us to do, where it doesn't have to be on Sunday, but we can come together. As far as singing, you can add a lot of those hymns and still have a lot of the really cool stuff in it. So I think there's something important about community, particularly with your kids growing up, as far as having a part of that. So you get a different perspective on it. That helps me.
Tim, I agree with you, because when I read the word commitments, that's your interpretation is what I thought of. Like, these are things that we're firm about, we're strong about, we really believe in these things. And I saw the analogy of 10 Commandments, but I didn't think of it in that way, as we're going to impose these upon people. I thought, this is what we commit to, this is what we believe in, this is what we promote and we push.
It's also more of an active.
Yes.
The commandments are all don't do this, don't do that.
Right.
Whereas the commitments are, this is what you are going to work toward.
You shall do, you shall, you have an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a second thought also, because these are about image. Image for those who don't believe, because we are painted as people, baby eaters. We're painted as evil. We're painted as we're not good, immoral, and these paint us in a different light. These showcase us in a different light. That we do have values. We do have things that are a priority to us, and that was my second thought upon looking at it and reading a little bit more about it. I do like the fact that they came out with something that gives us an image.
But is there value in holding on, latching on to some of the precepts that were taught to us in religion? Example, you were a Buddhist follower. The greatest words ever spoken, in my opinion, came from Buddha when he said, "Do no harm."
Yes.
I mean, that if the world could comply with that, that would be probably the greatest gift that we would have from religion. Jesus went on to say, "Love one another." Isn't that totally humanistic? I mean, these are things that we don't need to detract from or run away from. We can hold those valid.
I think, and I think these types of values predate religion.
Sure.
They just came about because this is the pull. This is what, the hook. We as a society determine what our values are, and so this society has just put them down in a way that
are we born as a blank slate then?
Yes.
And we will be susceptible to whatever we're fed, force feeding, let's say. Okay.
Yes, whatever experiences that we have determine who we are as an individual.
Is
And
mankind-
I don't like that idea of a blank slate. My children all were born with their own personalities and their own capabilities, and none of them were blank slates. So, I mean, you can make a difference as to how you channel their personalities or whatever, but I think we're all born as very unique individuals.
I do like the idea of being able to identify the common ground that we have.
From that point of view.
So Thursday night, Julian Mack was speaking with a Trump supporter. Some of that was on camera, where he, in case you don't know who Julian Mack is a local activist. He's been very vocal about social justice issues primarily, but he also gets involved with some other areas as well. He has been arrested for his beliefs and his vocalization. He can be confrontational. So I thought it was ironic, he was wearing a t-shirt that says, "Do not arrest this person." I'm like, really? You have to say that? They're going to. They're going to come to you first. But the idea that he was able to, across the fence, have a conversation that was civil with someone who was from Canada and has issues with the state of healthcare in Canada, which is not perfect, and his concerns there. And they had conversations comparing the two, healthcare in America versus healthcare in Canada, and what it means and common misconceptions. So they're having this conversation, and I think that it is important to be able, we are never going to get rid of organized religion. I don't know that that actually has to happen. We are never going, the world is never going to come to a point where there is no organized religion, where there is no belief in some sort of supernatural. But we do need to be able to live with one another. And so to be able to find that common ground, you're a Christian, okay? I can respect that in Christianity, your Jesus said to love one another, love your neighbor. I can respect that. I also, as a humanist, try to live my life with compassion for all humans. So now we have some common ground, so we don't have to hate each other, because two things that are very, very important to both of us are something that we can discuss. We don't have to agree on how to go about it necessarily, but when it comes down to it, we're supposed to, we are able to find something that we can stand next to each other and not have to kill each other for it. So, if you cannot help someone, then at least do not harm them. And I think that, with some people, you can find that common ground and have the discussions that need to be had. I think problems come with how you get there, but I do like the idea of being able to find respect for another human being, because they are able to believe something that you believe, even if they call it something else, as long as it's not hurting someone.
So did he get arrested?
But no,
No, he did not.
No.
Berger's daughter did.
No, there was an article, I think it was in the Blade, where he went to the front of the line and was shouting a slogan or something, and these cops surrounded him and escorted him back to the protest areas. But they didn't
Really?
arrest him. Yeah, I think he was thinking he was going to get arrested. And he didn't.
That shirt was probably a provocation.
Well, I see where Jane Fonda was arrested a few weeks ago. with
Yeah,
the
several
Yeah,
AK-47.
it's like a
She
weekly
lived
thing
as a
now.
flag of distinction.
Oh, yes.
Flag of distinction.
15 times.
So,
Yeah.
and Gloria Steinem as well. I mean, she's been there,
Go ahead.
No, it's one of the things, I mentioned at the last meeting, one of the areas that I'm trying to work on is this polarization politically. Friend, how do you interact with people very different? And a book that I just read, it's by Arthur Brooks, it's called Love Your Enemies. He's fairly conservative with their heritage, but he really points out what we have in common and ways in which we can start this conversation. And one of the things he looks at difference in what quote important values of like Democrats versus Republicans. But he said one of the two common things that we both have, and they've done the surveys, is fairness and compassion, and we need to build on that, and then we get into all these that make us very different. So I really highly recommend it. It's an excellent. It's an
What
Arthur
is it?
Brooks is his name, and it's
What
called
is it?
Love Your Enemies.
Brooks?
Yeah, BRO. Think of, I did slot to David Brooks on NPR, but it's Arthur Brooks. And reading it first, I saw it from the Heritage Foundation. Do I really want to read this? But it's showing my bias. But he's got a lot of good stuff in it.
The one point, I don't know if I made it the last time you brought that up or not, but I'm all for respecting people, compassion, not thinking that they're being malicious, and I think that only goes so far as both, if it's two sides or whatever, if the sides come at it as that they're playing by the rules,
Right.
as it were.
Right.
Some people play dirty. And usually you see that when they start insulting you and making up things about you and assassinating your character. So a lot of times if I'm arguing with somebody and they start with the ad hominem attacks or trying to poison the well or whatever fallacy thing that they go for, I just say, I'm done.
And you just say, we can't
Yeah.
continue
Yeah.
this because you stepped over that line, and then you just stop it there. No, I hope.
Now they'll go to their friends and say, "Hey, I had a victory," and it's like, "All right."
Well, isn't it Abraham Lincoln that says, "Do I not destroy my enemies when I love them?"
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can love them and walk away.
But some people aren't like that. Some people they want to win.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That's their goal, is to
I had
win.
a call a couple of weeks ago from a guy that I knew since I've been 4 years old. He was the best man at my wedding. He's in his 80s now. And he said, I see that you're sending some questionable stuff in your emails. And I'm talking about humanism, secularism. And he said, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you. And he meant that as I think, truly compassion.
Yeah.
I'm worried about you. I hope you're not going off the path. And I thanked him. But I couldn't talk with him any more than that. You know, what are you going to do? You know?
Well, Sean, I think you're right that there are so many things that we have commonalities: love, justice, compassion, working against poverty, things like that. And we don't focus on those. We find a little tiny difference, like you cross the sidewalk the wrong way. We're going to make this a knockdown and drag out fight. And I just think it's totally wrong to do that because there's so much commonality among all of us. Who here would say, no, we need to hate people? I don't think there's one of us that would say that, And so we need to look at that, and as Kenny, you did say, Tim, that we need to say, these are the things we agree on, we can walk side by side in this, And there's some things that you may disagree on, but you can still support and walk alongside somebody in another area, and instead of being what I call a lumper. If they've got one bad area, then everything about them is bad. And I don't agree with that, They could be right on many things and still be wrong on one issue, but that doesn't mean I defriend them or unFacebook them or kick them or punch them or anything like that. I think you bring up a good point.
I would like to say though that Doug and I have discussed this at some length. When it comes to an organization showing support for another organization, I think that I do think that you have to take. You need to do some Googling.
Well, you mean research.
Research, yes. In order to know where they stand on certain issues, because when you align yourself, when one organization aligns itself with another organization, it can be construed that if...
It's a reflection on you.
Yes.
I was speaking more,
guilty by
there's a
association.
difference in my mind between organizations and individuals. And so I was speaking from an individual perspective on that.
Okay.
But there are a couple of red lines for me personally,
Yeah.
that if somebody is a racist, I will not.
Right.
I will not associate myself with a racist any further
How
than I
is a
have
racist
to
loving?
for professional
Huh?
reasons.
How is a racist person loving?
Right.
And I would put loving as a foundational principle.
Okay, but a racist, there are people within religious organizations, whole religious organizations, that claim that what they do is not racist. However, that it is just the natural hierarchy of human existence.
Ordained by
That's-
God.
that's
Some of them
not-
say ordained by God.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes.
that to
Well,
me,
that's a perversion then.
Right.
but it
of what love
exists,
is.
and they will
Well, it
still
does,
tell
it does.
you that God loves them, that Jesus loves them, but they are still less than, and you deserve more because you are white. That you deserve more because you have been ordained by God. Those are some of the things.
Well, they're just wrong.
I agree, and so those are the things that I am careful about. The average Christian, the average Jewish person, the average Buddhist, whatever that I meet on the street is probably not of that extreme.
Mhm.
But I will be careful not to align myself with someone who has these types of values. Usually it's fairly easy to see, and once you get into a little bit of conversation, I very rarely have just average conversations with people. Even then,
You're just not a small talker.
I am not. I don't give a crap about the weather. If you want to know about the weather, then you
Look
can
outside.
Look outside.
You
Look
can
outside.
Google it.
But
Now,
I
if you want to talk about human rights and social justice and making people have food that they need and education that they deserve, I'll have that conversation in the line at the grocery store.
But taking off from where Sean was going, we have a Facebook page. I have a friend of mine that lives in Columbus, and he does the postings for me, so I don't have to worry about it. And there are several people that I recommend that he not post about, such as Steven Pinker. He's a scientist. He has a problem with gender identities. Significant problem. He's top of his field in science. He's right. I think he did a book. Was he the one that did the book about the blank slate? Or something like that. He's like into evolutionary biology, but I won't have the group promote his things. I personally have an aversion to Sam Harris because he has said some stuff that's not compatible with humanist beliefs. So I won't promote his stuff on our page. We also, this past year, the board got together. We did a resolution that we will not work with groups that do not support abortion rights, period. We're not going to cherry pick. We're not going to say, well, this group does good things to this community, but they don't support abortion rights. So we're going to work with them because we want to help their community. I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to have the group do that. So, I mean, there are, like I said, there are certain red lines sometimes, and it just depends on what it is. It's
Because you're
situational.
talking on an organizational level.
Right, as part of our organization. Yeah.
Well, not only organization, I'm not one, I don't have Facebook, I don't get into all that stuff.
You're probably more healthy for it.
Yeah.
I feel I am.
I feel
And
better
but
since
what
I've
I'm
stopped
saying
on
is,
Facebook.
you also, when you put stuff out there, you may not be an organization, but to support some or say some of that stuff, even if you're working with somebody, I don't think you should put that out there. People don't understand. But on a one-to-one basis, because I remember, you've probably seen it was on, I think, NPR a couple years ago, where that individual who was raised as a white nationalist, and he was at school, and this Jewish group took him in, and they worked with him for a year, and they accepted him, and now he's having one of the major effects out there, calling out what white nationalism is and so forth. So we got to remember there's all those kids out there that they grew up in this environment. How they met them, they didn't go online or anything. What they did, they went one-to-one and established that relationship, and he saw another side.
Right.
So, yeah, and I
Right.
wholeheartedly agree. That's what I'm saying. He's an individual. Even you put stuff out there, no, that's not right.
Mhm.
Except these 10 commitments, I think, would be good.
Yeah, and I do that too. I mean,
Yeah.
as a matter of course, like when we do our info booths out in the community, we don't put up stuff that's what people would think would be militant atheism.
Right.
We just don't. That's not our jazz, as it were. We want to try to build a community.
Yes.
And like I always promote, it's not necessary for you to be an atheist to be a humanist.
Right.
It's not essential.
But it sure does help.
It helps, but it's not, because I've known quite a few people, Quakers and other people that have been part of humanist groups that I've been part of. So,
Actually, I like the term non-theist versus atheist tends to me be, it's out there more aggressive.
Less
That you're calling these people out where a non-theist is, I don't believe in a God. So when I found that term, I kind of like that.
And it's a little stronger than agnostic.
Oh,
Agnostic
yeah,
always
well,
feels real.
definitely
Agnostic
is
is still
different.
like you're
Agnostic,
questioning.
you're
You're just
questioning.
not really
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm come to the point that I'm,
Yeah, you're done questioning.
Agnostic sounds more tolerant, and non-theist.
And like, you can
atheist-
persuade me.
Right.
And people will.
non-theist is more committed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the
I mean,
word
And I'm open
atheist,
to.
I mean,
atheist has been, there's been a propaganda
Yes,
by religious.
That's part of that. Yeah, no, I agree.
And so it does have an extreme negative impact when you do say that.
Yeah.
There are atheists who are out there who would like to, who are trying to change that image, and trying to give it a different look. But I do like non-theist as an alternative.
It'll open more doors.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The Theosophical Society of America
See it topical?
was founded by Helen Blavatsky, mystic. And what I like about their group is that it offers a tapestry of every conceivable belief, pre-Christian, Krishna, pre-Buddhism, from all facets. But their slogan is good because, and I like it because it says, there is no religion higher than truth.
Mm.
And if that doesn't speak volumes,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So, some of us have to learn that whole background before we can truly find the value. If we're looking for the divinity or the divine, if we're a humanist, we'll find it within. We don't need to look out for it. That's what I feel, personally.
So Doug, let me ask, are you gonna go through what those 10 are?
Yeah,
I
we
mean, just
can.
to
We can
mention
do
them,
that, sure.
Talk about each one, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I was anticipating. You don't have to, but
All right. I probably won't read the whole paragraph on it, but we'll see.
do they have little headings for each one?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, the first one is critical thinking. As we are each bombarded with a constant stream of information, it can become challenging to decide what is accurate and true. Thinking critically allows us to make sense of all this information and reason our way to good judgments and effective solutions to the problems we face, while rigorously avoiding pitfalls like rationalization, conformity, and stereotyping. This process forms the basis of the scientific method, which opens the door for new discoveries through hypothesizing and experimenting. Critical thinking is a skill that requires continued attention, practice, and reflection. Exercising our minds to build these skills enables us to challenge biases in ourselves and in others, paving the way for a fair, open-minded, and autonomous perspective that fosters a multicultural worldview.
I like the part, challenges biases in ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we all do. We all have some kind of bias somewhere lurking. And it's good to recognize it, even if you can't get rid of it. At least you know it's there. The next one is ethical development. The key to understanding ethical development is acknowledging that nobody is perfect or has all the answers. Ethical development is a never-ending process that requires constant reflection and evaluation of our personal choices and the consequences they have on others. Fairness, cooperation, and sharing are among the first moral issues we encounter in our ethical development as human beings and are often embraced intuitively, but each new day carries with it new challenges and new moral dilemmas. We should continually adapt and rebuild our moral frameworks with the goal of becoming ever better human beings.
I think that's kind of redundant on critical thinking. I don't know if you read that one, but that's neat.
That's you?
Well, I like the end of that statement that we should continually adapt and rebuild our moral frameworks with the goal of becoming ever better human beings. Because 20 years ago, what might have seemed ethical, now we know more, and we realize that what was ethical 20 years ago is extremely inhumane. Doug and I were just discussing, in the 80s and the 90s, we were learning that, black people were born into poverty and had no opportunity. So all we needed to do for black people to succeed was give them opportunity, and then they would soar. So, we had affirmative action, and we had, opportunity monies thrown at them to develop organizations to empower themselves. But what we failed to do was understand that it's about more than where they are today. It's about more than where they were in 1960. So, you have to understand more. And so things that we did 40 years ago, 30 years ago, really are not ethical today. You have to keep evolving with the changing world and the knowledge that we acquire.
Yeah.
We do the critical thinking, which may very well impact and have strong effect on our ethical values.
Yeah, years ago, when I was still a pastor, I taught an ethics course, and one of the things that came away that I really tried is that ethics, too much, you have the 10 Commandments, really, ethics, this is it, it's not going to change. But ethics is something that's developing culturally, and it varies between cultures. And I think what's important here is we also have to look at ourselves, but we need to be involved with those positive changes in how our culture changes, like we're saying, in these ethical issues. I think that's where really important we can contribute. Well, I guess it's all of these, it's a personal thing, but peace and justice, it's all things where we're also trying to have this positive effect on our culture and society.
So on the ethics, let me ask this, are there any ethical values that transcend all the different cultures, or is a similar theme among all the different cultures?
Well, one that I do know is the Golden Rule.
Okay.
It's been experienced in different cultures across millennia. That's one of them.
I think murder is wrong in all cultures.
Nope.
Nope.
There are some cultures in which murder is very much substantiated. Because if you wrong a person, if you wrong a certain family member, yes, the answer to that is life for a life, eye for an eye.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be illegal killing. That wouldn't be murder, right? If the society allows it, does that? I
It
don't
would be
know.
legal, yeah. It would be
Legal, ethical.
Honor.
Yeah,
Still,
Yeah, but it's not.
it'd be ethical. I
really,
don't know.
I guess it depends on the definition of murder.
I think another aspect of ethics might include how we have compassion. Let me give a couple examples. I was talking with a cousin of mine this morning, who just lost her husband. She was a Catholic, and she married a Canadian doctor who was an atheist. And they had a wonderful marriage, short marriage, 10 years. And what she learned from her husband was the value of science and reasoning, which her church didn't allow her to do that. And so now I'm a Rosicrucian, so she wanted to find out what that journey might include. And I told her that it would help her find herself. But the dilemma is that he, being a Canadian doctor who came and took the New York exam to become a New York doctor, his forte or his skill or his profession was involved in emergency room. Now he operated out of Hamilton, Ontario. And what he talked about when he came over to this side is having to patch people up who were shot up with bullets. That's something that they did not have in Canada. He was used to automobile accidents and trauma of all kinds, but to actually see people riddled with bullets. And so I think when we look at that culture, I think that culture would be different than ours in that we have more compassion. That's why they have a social medicine scheme That's now been over 45 years. We're still struggling to get there. We can't seem to cross that bridge. And I know there are people who complain about the Canadian system. Canadians. I lived in Canada. My wife went through all of her chemotherapy, all of her MRIs, everything in Canada, and I know what it amounts to. It's far, far different than what we have. The expression that I use in America is that the dog-eat-dog mentality exists in this country like in no other country I've been to, and I've been around the world. Sorry to say that.
Unfortunately, that tends to be an ethical value,
It is.
which is bad.
Yeah.
Which is really bad. The spirit of cooperation, sharing is not there, and it should be.
We call it the me first mother effort. That's just the attitude you see so many places.
That's why socialism, the word socialism and the concept of socialism has a negative connotation with most people because they don't really understand that it means, versus society.
They don't value
And they
helping
don't,
other
they're the people, yeah. They don't
see it.
value that. I'm gonna get in what I can get in first before you get it.
Another ethical value that I think, I don't know if it's in every culture or not, is, and I'm going to butcher it, reciprocity.
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 Yeah, yeah,
Represent, yeah.
yeah. I butcher that word all the time. I can't pronounce it. Yeah, because you really find that in successful human communities is, they're not living in a hovel somewhere as a hermit. You see these successful communities because they're helping each other out, they're trading, sharing.
This may be ethical, I don't know, or ethics. I lived in Central America for many years, and I lived in a really, really poor area. There was sort of an unwritten rule. People stole like crazy there.
Oh.
They were continually, whether it was a banana tree or whatever you had, they were after. But there was a little unwritten rule that they embraced. They never stole from people who were poorer than they were.
Mm-hmm.
So they always stole from the person who had more. And then they would use the Bible to back that up. Why not you give this to me because you're rich and you have two and I don't have any. So if you had two jars of peanut butter in your cabinet, one of them would pop up missing one day, your screen would be split, they would come in and they would grab one, sort of an equality thing.
But they'd also leave one instead of taking two, right?
They would only take what they needed, right?
That's right.
But then you also now had to fix your screen. Which takes me to my philosophy is that one
But
thing
see, they had them screens. I had screens that kept the mosquitoes out, right?
Oh,
That was
so
a
the
mark.
fact that you
That
had-
was a mark of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have screens.
So one thing I just really have a hard time tolerating is thievery, stealing. If I have something, just let me know that you need it. If I have not recognized your need, tell me of your need. I will give you what I have.
Yeah.
If it's not something that I need to sustain my own life or the life of the people that I am responsible for, I will give it to you freely, and then you have not stolen from me. I intend to never make a thief of anyone, nor do I intend to make anyone walk away from me in want or need. So I don't want to have to repair my screen.
Yeah, you're very good.
But it's also quite possible that if I have something and I have not given it to someone who needs it, it is probably because I need it. And I am not any good to help another person if I cannot sustain myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the whole, there's quite a, when I came back from living abroad, I noticed that there was this survival mentality taking place in America. people were stockpiling things. During the Obama administration, they were stockpiling bullets because one day there will be no more bullets or weapons. So you buy guns and bullets and all that stuff. I have a friend who stored gasoline in his garage. And,
With bullets?
yeah, because, you know, it comes to hurricane, tornado, whatever it is, you're gonna need it. Now he's got barrels of water stored in his garage, because that's something. And I will say this, I survived a hurricane down in Central America, massive. And the first thing that people came to my house was to take whatever I had that they could use, you know. Now, if you didn't have a boat, you didn't need gasoline. So they didn't take my gasoline, but they took all the water out of my cistern. That's okay, at least it's helped them, you know. I had bottled water I could drink, right? But it's amazing how we tend to stockpile these things around us that support us, thinking that we're gonna be safe in terms of turmoil. The first thing that happens is all the laws are broken.
Mhm.
In a hurricane, a tornado, you don't know who's gonna grab anything that you may have. It's the way it is. That's sort of the unhumanistic side of humanity.
Doug and I bottled water this last year
In the summer.
anticipation of the, you know,
The algae bloom
algae
thing.
bloom. Yeah, so, you know, we had a few jugs, but we actually calculated how many days will it take, you know, before we will have safe drinkable water, so that we don't have to go to the store and take what other people are gonna go buy, so that we have what we need. But we didn't stockpile more than what we needed, you know? But at the same time, if we had 5 jugs of water, and we knew we needed 5 jugs of water, but our neighbor came to us and said they had none, I would gladly give them a jug of my water.
Sure.
Because they need it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can maybe then scale back.
Yeah.
The comment that Jewel made about the hurricane and stuff, if you remember the year 2000 bug hubbub, I worked with this guy who was I guess you would call him a prepper these days. And so he had stuff in his garage for Y2K because he thought for sure everything was going to go to hell. And he was a reenactor for muzzle loading. A muzzle loading reenactor. He did like the Battle of Tippecanoe and things like that. So he didn't need bullets. He had his musket. He could go hunting with his musket. And the thing he was telling me, and I told him, I said, well, you know, he lived in this rural area of southern Ohio, and he was the mayor of one of these little bit towns that you miss when you go through. And I said, people are going to know you're stockpiling stuff. He said, I got it covered. He says, I got 2 bridges to get to my house. I've got dynamite. So he had dynamite strapped to the supports of these bridges because he had a big culvert. And he says, if things go to hell, I'm blowing the bridges.
Oh. Yeah.
People find a way across the river pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
Well, people will just fall into the culvert and then they'll use the dead bodies as bridges.
Everybody's seen zombie movies. We know that.
I have a comment on
It'll be filled with Twinkies.
on ethics, and it somewhat ties in with the one on environmentalism. And I would suggest as a future topic to talk about animal ethics
Mhm.
and how we as humanists look towards that. I grew up on a farm. I'm a hunter. I'm a zoo, wildlife, dog and cat veterinarian, and so I've looked at all these issues on euthanasia and people, and I think that's something that's a very important topic because how we treat our fellow beings on this earth. In fact, it was not too long ago when I was in Canada at a conference, and the focus was on animal abuse issues, but also right there where the sociologists, because they said they look at if there's animal abuse in a home, there's a good chance that there's going to be human abuse. And so I think it's a very important topic that we as humans need to look at, because to expand this just because beyond our own species, and I'm sure you all, but there's so many issues, and it's something I've worked on for years. Very interesting.
If you would like to put together a presentation we can
Sure.
definitely.
Yeah, because
Way to
we
go,
need,
Sean.
we need to find people
You're getting
with
this one done for
expertise.
Doug.
No, well, we need to find people with expertise that want to talk about it.
I can bring pictures of my cats.
Of your new cats.
My new cat,
Yeah, we
or
have
two new
cats.
We
cats.
got plenty of pictures of them.
Yeah.
I see them on Facebook
all
all
the
the time.
time.
They don't look deprived or abused or
No,
anything.
But
I would rather doubt there was any abuse. Maybe the other side.
I would
Too
like
much-
to-
When I see so many obese animals.
Oh, that is actually, we really work on that.
Good, I'm
actually,
sure.
yeah. I actually, I
And that's
I
part of
had
the
a fat
ethics,
cat
you know.
once.
My cats abuse me, so
I've
talk to them.
So what happens when you try to put the cat in the carrier to take him home with you to a nice, warm, cozy place out of the shelter? Yes, that's what they do.
Mhm.
All right, well, we're gonna have to wrap things up here because we kind of got to be out of the room by 3 o'clock. So this will be a good point to stop. Anybody have any questions, quick questions, comments, concerns?
do we